Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And we have a great power rankings show for you guys today. Before we get into it, this is going to be a very AFC-centered episode, all right? We're going to be talking about just kind of the standings, where they stand in our power rankings versus, their possibility of actually making the playoffs. That's really where the majority of this show is going to be focused on. So if you're a fan of an NFC team that we don't get to today, we're sorry, but we'll try and do something for the NFC next week. So hey, like this video just because you like us, and then subscribe to the channel. Check back next week for the NFC sided version of this show. Before we get into the AFC side of the talk, I do want to look at our power rankings as a whole and talk about the changes. It was a really weird week, another really weird week of big teams losing, top teams. I believe we had Cardinals, Bucks, Rams, Ravens, all very highly last week. They go down. Cardinals, obviously, number one, lost this past week without their starting quarterback, so I think that's fair to point out. But we had a disagreement at number one, which hasn't happened a lot this year. And by the way, just for everyone who doesn't watch our show weekly, we both make separate, completely different power rankings, combine them together for the Between the Pylons power rankings. And when you have two different teams in number one, it does make it difficult, so it was an argument we had to have. I ended up putting the Packers at number one. You wanted the Titans at number one, and I would like you to give your argument as to why the Titans should be at number one instead of the Packers.
Yeah, the thing for the Titans is in spite of losing Derrick Henry like they have come out, and it hasn't always been pretty at times. The run game has been borderline inept, really haven't gotten going. The offenses look different. The defense has struggled at times. But this team has fight. This team is handling this adversity in the best fashion possible, and that's coming away with hard-fought wins. Beating Los Angeles like they were able to do, and at the time Los Angeles was our number one team in our power rankings, unanimous one. Like you said, typically we do agree for the most part. And the thing that gave me the edge over the Packers are playing really, really good football, but it's the fight that the Titans are giving. I think it needs to be rewarded. The Titans are on a 6-game win streak right now. 5 of those teams were in the 2020, that's last year's playoffs. That's 5 teams that they have beaten. They have the most injuries in the league. This team is rallying around Mike Vrabel right now. And if the season were to end right now, the Titans have the hardest schedule that has been played so far. And they have survived it. They are 8-2. They are playing good ball. They play the Texans this week. So I will say this, the Titans are number one on my list. Tennessee Titans. A lot of your fans question, hey, why do we not get any respect? Why do we do this? It's because typically when we do give you respect, I'm giving you the respect. You come out and will lose to the Houston Texans on Sunday. Do not do that in the same fashion that has happened. It's not usually the Texans as much as it's like the Jaguars on some random Thursday night in years past, or not being able to beat the Colts. They have bucked a lot of those old trends. This team is ready to go. They're doing the right things, and honestly, they should be able to wrap up the division in a few weeks, given it, depending on what the Colts are able to do, because the Titans beat them twice. And if they're somehow able to get Derrick Henry at the right time, this team has found a way to win without him. They have an emergence of some stars on this defensive line now that are going to be like household names overall in the league, and it travels well. Got to get Derrick back, because ultimately, I do not think the Titans can win at all without Derrick Henry, but this team has fight. And that's why they're there.
Listen, man, I absolutely agree with everything you said. I mean, huge props to the Titans, organization to be able to battle through a lot of adversity. Huge props to Mike Vrabel specifically. The fact that they've won these past 2 games without Derrick Henry, awesome, absolutely awesome. And I think they deserve to be a top 5 team. I certainly do. To me, at the end of the day, they have won some ugly games. I will say that. They haven't won these games and looked just like a dominant team. And to me, that means something to me when you were talking about the number one spot. The Packers have not looked dominant the past couple of weeks, and the reason we're talking about them as 1 and 2 teams is because we've had a lot of losses as teams that have been 1 or 2 teams over the past couple of weeks. So it's kind of tough, and it feels like this number one spot has been up for grabs the past couple of weeks. It hasn't been a significant, it hasn't been one team just taking it over. We've had the Cardinals 1 week, we've had the Bucks, we've had the Rams. Did we have the Ravens? Yeah, we had the Bills as number one. So we've had a lot of different teams set at number one spot, and it could easily change. I believe the Packers play the 49ers this week, or is it the Rams? They play the Rams. So yeah, it could easily change. But I'm looking at this and I'm just saying, yeah, top to bottom, this Packers team is better. Aaron Rodgers is better. They have a better unit overall, and that's why. And at the end of the day, yeah, give respect to what they've done. But to me, this is a 8-win team, 7-win team. No,
Packers they're both 8-2.
Okay, so the Titans are an 8-win team, and to me, the Titans are kind of a fake 8-win team in the sense that it just feels like they've won a lot of close games, and if the ball bounced a different way a couple times, they could be a 6-7 win team instead.
You sound like Keyshawn Johnson, man. Keyshawn Johnson just came out and lit the Titans on fire, saying that they didn't really have a lot of credible wins under their belt. A team that can find a way to win, ugly or not, is a team that can handle adversity, and I do think that plays. Packers have an extreme edge for one of these things. I've talked about this in a few of our main podcasts, our Between the Pylons channel, so please go check that out if you're watching this. Thank you very much. Is the road through Lambeau. That cannot be understated enough. I mean, to think with those conditions, that type of weather, those type of elements, and the fans that are just in that electric environment, if the Packers are able to get a home field advantage going through the playoffs, as good of a team that they are, winning in these multifaceted ways, if you will, it's going to speak volumes for it. I love Nashville. Nashville's a really good environment to go watch a game, but when it comes to, I guess, looking at like the tighten up 12th man mentality, I don't know if it's as strong as some of these other teams that are towards the top. The Titans are still kind of having to get, I guess, acclimated with being a contender in the league overall. Because, unfortunate to say, you do have a lot of fans still running around with, I went to the game this past Sunday. You see a lot of Vince Young jerseys, you see a lot of Marcus Mariota jerseys, saw some Chris Johnson, see some Lindell White, see some Jake Locker. A lot of turnover with the Titans in the past. And, you just don't really see that from some of these other teams' fans out there. Packers are a scary force going forward, and those elements cannot be mentioned enough.
Absolutely agree. Let's get into the meat of our show. We're going to kind of interweave the conversation around the AFC with a lot of the power rankings that we have here. So let's get into that. When you look at this AFC conference, right? Last week we were looking at it. There was one 6-win team. There's one 7-win team. That was the Titans. They got a win this week. And about 10 5-win teams.
Yeah.
Now you look at it. There are now 4 6-win teams, with 3 5-win teams winning and one 6-win team losing last week. The Ravens losing to the Dolphins, and there's 9 5-win teams. So not a lot has changed. It feels like it's completely up for grabs. When you take away the Texans, Jaguars, Jets, and Dolphins, everyone else is in contention. Everyone else has 5 or more wins. So it is absolutely it's completely up in the air. And regardless of how you feel about these teams, which that's what we get to talk about with the power rankings, but statistically, any one of these teams can go on a roll. Any one of these teams could realistically win their division, aside from maybe the Colts that feel a very, very long shot from taking over the Titans after getting swept by them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, any one of these teams could take over the playoffs and maybe have a run at the Super Bowl. As crazy as it is to say that the Broncos could be part of that, they're still a 5-win team, and they're one game out of the AFC West. I don't genuinely believe that, with the Broncos sitting there at the 24th best team in the NFL according to our power rankings. It is interesting to look at this division and the way it is shaped up so far. So with that in mind, just looking at our power rankings, what are a couple 5-win teams that you want to highlight here?
I still don't want to give up on the Bengals completely, I do not want to give up on the Chargers. Chargers have a lot of good ball left to be played. They're a good team. Bosa's starting to really amp up the level that he's playing at. Herbert and that offense travels really well. They do a phenomenal job. It's up for grabs, and I guess it shouldn't even be mentioned saying, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They are starting to, I'm not going to say starting to. They got back on the right track of doing what they normally do in this Sunday night blowout win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, I still think that the stat line really doesn't reflect how some of the poor decisions that Mahomes is making overall, that I do think that it's going to come back to bite him, and it has so far. But they're 6-4, and I never thought in a million years that 6-4 would be the top record in the AFC West this year. And they're there. They're there playing bad football. Imagine when they start playing good football. Well, you don't have to. Go back and look at Sunday night, and that's what they did against the Raiders. That good football, their best of the best is a top 5 team in the league. And if you were to put best of the best against AFC-wise, I think that I don't even know if it's close when it comes to the offense. Their best of the best cannot be stopped.
Yeah, look, so I love that. So you mentioned the Chiefs at 6-4 in the AFC West. The Chiefs moved up 6 spots in our power rankings, up to 10. Chiefs took a slow fall. We gave the Chiefs more respect than really any other team on our power rankings.
We should have.
And yeah, absolutely so. They probably should have been farther down. And then after one big win, they jump up 6 spots. But hey, I can honestly say for the both of us, this was the hardest week to do power power rankings of any week. So if you disagree with the power rankings, hey, leave it in the comments. Let us know what you would have done.
And I implore you to go do them on your own.
You're gonna struggle. That's all I can say. You might completely vehemently disagree with something that we have on here, but you'll struggle at some point. You'll certainly find a point where it's like it really just felt like from 14 to 26 this week.
That was tough.
I mean, it felt like it was just this close. From 14 to 26, we struggled.
So don't, like I see a lot of times in our comments, we have certain guys who are like, oh, this guy's at 16, that guy's at 17.
Team,
It's like, listen, we're splitting hairs right there. This is so close. And a lot of it just falls on what happened last week.
Yeah.
That's like, if we have these two teams grouped together and the team in front of them lost, you just bump them up, just depending on the way that their play was.
Absolutely. And look, when you look at this AFC West team, you look at the Chiefs at 10, the Chargers at 12. They went down 3 spots this week, but Chargers at 12. And then it's just kind of funny how it works. The Raiders here at where are the Raiders? I lost.
Raiders
them.
dropped.
Raiders at 20, making a big drop after getting crushed by the Chiefs. And then the Broncos at 24. It's so funny how they're pretty far apart, but they're really, really close on our rankings.
One football game played apart. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's tough to kind of look at a Broncos team that has 5 wins on their belt, but we can look at their wins and say, okay, other than the Cowboys win, there's not really a lot of impressive wins. And then you look at the Raiders and it's like, man, they won some good games after
playing good early on.
Yeah, exactly. Playing good early on, getting some tough wins, but then at the end of the day, same old Raiders getting crushed by the Chiefs, or they're not ready to contend in the big, when it comes to these big games that you should at least show contention on.
Fight.
Yeah, exactly. They went down 5 spots because they couldn't put up a fight. And then Chargers, is there any chance the Chiefs don't win this division?
Yes, there's definitely a chance. I mean, all it would take is the Chiefs kind of taking some of these same plays that they're kind of getting bailed out on here and there, some of these back foot, crossbody Mahomes throws that you see, and these turnover-worthy plays where he's not able to play hero ball and win them the game. You do that with a very, very hair-thin line margin that they have. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, it's 6-4, 5-4, 5-4, 5-5. A lot of football left to be played. All it takes is the Chargers going on a little mini streak. Absolutely. They got that division wrapped.
Absolutely. And let's move on to the AFC East, which I think is really interesting. The 2 highest ranked AFC teams, aside from the Titans, are the Bills and the Patriots right now, both inside our top 5, both in the AFC East. Both, have some easy games here with the Dolphins and Jets, so it feels like both of them probably going to make the playoffs regardless of how you feel about them. Obviously, they're both 6-win teams, so they have a good seat, yeah, they're in their driver's seat by themselves, but realistically, they both get to play some lesser opponents down the line. Bills at number 3 on our power rankings after getting a huge bump up, had a tough week against the Jaguars, and we're always a proponent of these good teams, of our top 10 teams, not letting one rough game really just derail their rankings. So had a rough game against the Jaguars. We didn't even bring them outside of the top 10 after losing the Jaguars and only putting up 3 points against the assumed one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Dwellers, yeah.
Now they are a half game ahead of the Patriots at 6-3. The Patriots are 6-4. Is this division up for grabs, or is this still the Bills' race?
I mean, it's up for grabs when you look at the mathematically looking at it, I guess. But I would say that this is the Bills are the better team here.
Okay.
And I would say one thing that you can look at as for in our rankings is consistency in saying that one little hiccup game against the Jaguars was like, okay, we'll move you down, we'll monitor that. But the Bills bounce back. Mm-hmm. Go look at some of the NFC side of the ball, and we saw the Buccaneers lose 2 in a row, the Rams lose 2 in a row, and their ranking drastically was affected by that because we gave them that first little grace period of like, hey, they had their weird game. Last week was a weird week in the NFL. A lot of teams did this, blah, blah, blah. Well, they came out flat again, and our rankings show that. The Bills were able to bounce back, and you just cannot convince me that they are not a top 5 team in the league. The team that's right on their heels, though. New England Patriots have been playing some really good football, and it's coming off of they hung 45 points on the Cleveland Browns. That's a top defense in my head. Mm-hmm. Put up over 50 against the Jets. I know it's the Jets, don't get me wrong, but this offense is scoring in multitudes that we have not seen since the GOAT was there. And what do you know? Bill took that kind of year off, had the weird thing, signed a lot of guys. This defense is playing lights out. It is a very underrated defense that travels well, and this offense is continuously improving under first-year starter Mac Jones. Mac Jones is starting to get some real buzz around him behind the Rookie of the Year. It's, kind of an off year for it, I guess, overall when it comes to quarterback play. But the Patriots are a good team, and with the experience and coaching ability of Belichick, it's something that I want no part of. There's a chance that they are able to take this division from the Bills. It's the Bills to lose, but the Patriots, I think, are still going to be doing some good football.
December 6th and December 26th decide this division.
Yes, they haven't played yet.
But they haven't played the Bills once yet. December 6th, December 26th, both games against the Bills. A 3-game margin where they have to play the same team twice. That's going to be interesting and a huge decider for both teams. Beyond that, definitely some winnable games on both sides for the Bills and the Patriots as far as the rest of their schedule. So should be 10-11 win teams no matter how it shakes out. But those 2 games, if they split, we'll see what happens. But if one team is able to prevail, whichever one it is, that's going to be the decider.
Yeah, as long as they're able to stay as consistent as they are right now and winning every other game, it seems, going like a 3-for-1 basis, these teams will meet up.
Absolutely agree. And this could be one of those times where, hey, there could be three matchups against the Bills and the Patriots this year, as far as what we saw last year with the Bucs and the Saints facing each other again.
I hope for the Bills' sake that they don't sweep the Patriots in the regular season.
Yeah, you're not going to win 3 against Bills.
No,
I don't think.
Count your blessings. It just does not work like that in the NFL. It comes up so many times. We saw it last year with the Bucs and the Saints. Saints dominated the Buccaneers. You'd think no way in hell that the Bucs killed them in the playoffs because third time's the charm. You figure out a lot of tendencies and you capitalize on it.
Yeah, and we're talking about good teams. I would venture to say, look at the bottom of our power rankings, the bottom 5-6 teams. I think you play any of those teams 3 times, they're probably going to find a way to win one of them. That's just how football is. That's
the way that this league is. That's the difference in the college and the pros, from where every single one of these teams is built to win. And we don't overreact to whenever it comes to, the Jaguars beating the Bills. Yeah, it's a big deal as to maybe there's some bigger issues going on in their season, but on a 1-week basis, anyone can show up and win a game.
All right. So AFC North, that's the last division we're really going to talk about here. Looking at where they stack up in our power rankings, the Ravens at 7, dropping 4 spots because of the Dolphins. Again, not overreacting to a Thursday night fluky game for the Dolphins. I'm a Dolphins fan. I was at that game. I hate calling it fluky, but I can call a spade as well. Steelers here, not overreacting to a tie against the Lions. Did not think that's how that would go.
No.
Steelers sitting there at 5-3-1 right now, but tie against the Lions. Hey, they played without Big Ben. Not going to overreact to that either. And then Bengals, Browns, both 5-1 teams as well. Bengals at 11, Browns at, where are the Browns?
Browns took a little bit of a spill.
Browns
16.
Yeah, the Browns fell to 16. It feels like the Browns are starting to run on a little bit of a slide. They did have a good game last week, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. So we'll see what happens there. Browns are technically the 4th team in that division. It really feels like, okay, obviously Ravens have a 1-game lead, and obviously they're favored. They're still a top 10 team for us and all these things. But if I look at a division that feels like the most up for grabs, I feel like bottom and top anyway. I feel like it's the AFC North. Our bottom team is the 16th best team in the NFL. I mean, that's saying something, I think. And, there's pros and cons to all of these teams, but I think we saw, hey, schematically, a team like the Dolphins can basically shut down that Ravens offense, and it was really one drive that got them into the end zone on the back of 3 huge penalties, I might add. I think it was like 40 yards worth of penalties that got them into that end zone against the Dolphins. Other than that, they were able to do nothing offensively. We've seen them, sputter out against teams that they should probably take care of handily before in this season. And then you have Steelers, Bengals, Browns. The AFC North is always weird with, tough games, and how it always plays out is always so strange. This is the toughest one to project, in my opinion.
It is for sure. And the reason that you were able to back it up, I like that you said that, was that the Browns are the lowest team in this division, ranked at 16th. Mm-hmm. That is half. That is the middle point of the NFL, and that is where the bottom is. This division could be easily flipped head over heels right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Ravens playing some good football, but their weaknesses can be exposed, and when they come out flat, they can arguably be the worst team in this division. Mm-hmm. Just depending on how these teams are able to handle this, they all still control everything in their destiny, and it's going to be weird to see how it goes, because you have kind of the same record stacking up in the AFC West, but it's the Raiders, it's the Broncos,
the Chargers,
I think the Chargers are good. The Chargers fit right in ahead of some of those teams in the AFC North, but Raiders and Broncos, on the other hand, I don't think they're as elite as some of the other ones. and that's why the AFC North is the one to really keep your eye on.
All right, man. Hey, let's end it right here with that. What we do every single week, looking ahead and looking at our favorite matchups of Week 11. So my favorite game of this week, we mentioned it on the main pod. I'm going to mention it here again because I'm so excited for this. It's the game of the week, Chiefs and Dallas Cowboys. To me, this is the huge question mark. Are the Chiefs back? Right? We saw that great game against the Raiders, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The offense is back rolling. Prove it to me. Prove it to me against Diggs. Prove it to me against this Dallas defense that has played a lot better than I was expecting coming into the season, and this Dallas offense that can just score with just about anybody. Dallas showed that they were back when they completely trounced the Falcons last week after having a tough game against the Broncos. The Chiefs feel like they're back after having a great game against the Raiders. This feels like a really big game for both teams. I don't really even care who wins. In the grand scheme of things, I think both teams will be fine regardless of how the final outcome is. I don't think this is a big decider one way or the other on that, but it's going to be a huge decider for me is, okay, do both these teams come out looking good? Do both these teams look like they're moving the ball? Is this a good game? Is this a good matchup between two good teams, or are the Chiefs going to come out and struggle again? Is Dallas gonna show same old Dallas with having those off weeks here and there? I hope not. I hope it's a great game. I'm excited to watch it. I hope we see two teams that belong in our top 10 power rankings, two teams that, regardless of outcome, can maybe even go up in our power rankings if they both play well.
Yeah, I'll comment on yours before I move on to mine. And I want to look back at the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. And I like the way that you said you want to see how this game is played regardless of who wins. Because 2 weeks ago, one of the games that we spoke about in our power rankings was the Chiefs and Packers. Mm-hmm. And it was the offenses, the firepower. I think Aaron Rodgers was out that game, so it was a little misfortune on that behalf. But the Chiefs did not do what they were supposed to do. They did not come out and look good. Yes, they won that game, but overall, top to bottom, was it pretty? I think it was a 13-7 win or whatever it was, or 13-9. It was whoever didn't want to lose that game pretty much. I want to see this game, both teams come out, do what they're supposed to do offensively, have the defense step up at times, see who can make the biggest plays, and just let it be a good game. If this game ends 38-35, 38-31, I don't give a damn who wins because, like you said, these teams will be okay moving forward. But I need to see the Chiefs offense, not as much as I need to see the Cowboys. They've shown it in more doses than what the Chiefs have this year. The Chiefs have to arise to that level of play, though.
Absolutely agree.
My game of the week goes to two teams that are currently both sitting at third in their division, and we talked about in the AFC West, AFC North, two highly competitive divisions. They both control their own destinies, and this is going to be one of those games that matters not only for their division, but stacking up in that final wild card spot. It's the Cincinnati Bengals and the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are coming off of a big ass whooping right now. Bengals coming off of a bye week. How does Zach Taylor and this team prepare for that? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, all that firepower. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals, and I think whichever team is able to get this win, it's going to matter far, far more in the wild card standings than it will overall division winners. That's how you get tiebreakers, man.
Absolutely. Huge tiebreaker implications in that game. And guys, we'll close it out right there. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow us for more on social media. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.
7.